Okay, here is a sample program that does matrix multiplication. This one starts off with very little things in there, and then I'm going to add to it as we go on. So the first thing that I do, by the way, I'm not using Visual C. There's a license error on my machine, so I'm running a C compiler that is for a machine control device, which it's similar to an Arduino, and we'll talk more about that when you get to the point of your project needing these things. So anyway, that's what's happening. When I start with a project, the first thing I do is I create the files, and let me show you what I've done with that. So I'm going to pause and pull over a directory. Okay, so here's the directory, and I create a directory to hold my matrix multiplication program. And then what I do is I just create text files and change the type of file to either a .c or a .h, depending on what I'm doing. I'm going to show you how you can use multiple files to keep track of different programs, but at the moment these two files are completely empty. And I've done some editing in the main C and the main H, and we'll talk about those. Okay, so when you run Visual C, you will, or Visual Studio, you'll have a project file, and it'll be something similar to this. It'll look different because I'm not running Visual C or Visual Studio. But anyway, this section over here is where my project information is. It tells the machine what files to compile, so it's going to compile main.c and matmul.c. It's also going to use header files, which we'll talk about in a little bit, main.h and matmul.h, and if you remember, those were in the directory. Your Visual C will be slightly different, but it'll be a similar idea for this. Okay, so I've written some code in here, and let me just talk about this. Here what I'm doing is the main program. I'm defining 9 memory locations that are called A. This is going to be a matrix, and I'm saying it's 3 times 3 because I'm trying to tell myself this is 3 rows and 3 columns. Integer would be probably kind of dumb to have an integer, and most matrices, I guess, are floating points. But anyway, we'll change that later. So I'm just making a point here. And then I have another variable B, and it's also a 3 by 3 matrix. And then that will contain the data that I will then multiply. Okay, now in C, when you have these arrays like this, it does not have a row and column to represent them. All it does is it takes 9, in this case 9 integers, puts them into memory one after another, and it's up to the programmer to keep straight, which of these values are a row and which ones are columns. So I'll show you the way that that I do it. Here in the pink, I have something that I have defined as val, V-A-L. You can call it anything you want. There's nothing special about the val. And I'm going to send val 3 things. I'm going to send it an A, and then 2 numbers, a 1 and a 1, and I'm going to set that equal to 2. Okay, so let's go look at val. So if you look up here at val, here's what val is. I have defined it to mean something, and I'm just demonstrating that how you would do that. So these definitions are like using an editor with a cut and paste. So wherever it sees the word val, it's going to replace it with the stuff that's out here after the section. So it's going to replace it with this. So for example, the stuff that's in pink, it says val A, 1, 1. That translates into A is this value right here. And so that is A. So MAT becomes A. And then the next thing that's sent is a number 1, and that becomes this guy right here. So it'll be 1 times 3 plus, and then COL is the next number, and so that's going to be adding this one. So basically, this command val a, comma 1, comma 1 equals 2 is the same thing as typing in this information here. So it'll be a 1 times 3 plus 1 equals 2. So what I'm going to do is pause this for a minute and have you convince yourself that this thing really does store a number 2 in the row 1, column 1 position of the variable a. And then after and then we'll start up again.